I had been looking forward to this weekend for months. My small log cabin sat at the edge of Pine Hollow Forest, surrounded by tall pines, a gentle creek, and a chorus of crickets at night. I had built this place with my own hands after inheriting the land from my grandfather, a man who taught me the value of hard work and peace. For me, the cabin wasn't just a building, it was a piece of family history, a refuge where I could escape the noise of the city. I arrived Friday evening, unloaded some groceries, and set a fire in the stone fireplace. With coffee in hand, I sat on the porch, watching the last orange glow fade behind the trees. I had no idea that this peaceful weekend was about to get interrupted by a storm. I never expected. Her name was Karen. The first encounter came the next morning. I was chopping some firewood near the shed when I noticed a woman marching down the dirt path. She was in her late 40s, short blonde hair, oversized sunglasses, and a permanent scowl, like she had just bitten into a lemon. Two small dogs yapped at her heels, while she stormed straight toward me, without so much as a greeting. "You there? What do you think you're doing?" she barked. I paused, axe still in hand. Splitting wood?" I replied, thinking it was obvious. "This property is reserved for private guests only," she snapped, pointing toward my cabin. "You can't just squat here. The owners don't allow strangers." I blinked in confusion. "Ma'am, I am the owner. This is my cabin." She gave a sarcastic laugh, shaking her head. "Nice try. I've been coming here every summer for years. The actual owners don't just let random men chop wood in their yard. You need to pack up and leave before I call security. Or worse, the police." Her words hit me like a cold splash of water. Was she serious? My name was on the deed. My grandfather's signature was still in the county archives. Yet here I was, being told I was trespassing on my own land. I tried to reason with her. "Look, I think there's a misunderstanding. This cabin has been in my family for decades. My grandfather," she cut me off with a wave of her hand. "Spare me the sob story. I'm calling the ranger right now. You'll regret pretending you belong here." And just like that, she pulled out her phone, marching back up the path, muttering to herself. My relaxing weekend had just turned into a nightmare. I spent the next hour pacing the porch, trying to shake off the encounter. My coffee had long gone cold, and the peaceful forest I loved suddenly felt hostile. Who was this woman to tell me to leave my own cabin? Just as I was thinking of heading inside to start breakfast, I heard it, the crunch of tires on the gravel road. A green pickup truck with a Forest Ranger logo pulled into my driveway, dust kicking up behind it. The door opened, and out stepped Ranger Dawson, a tall man with a graying beard, and a calm authority about him. I knew him from years back when I'd filed paperwork with the forestry office. Before I could say a word, Karen appeared from the opposite trail, storming toward the ranger like she had summoned the cavalry. She waved her arms dramatically. "Officer, thank goodness you're here. This man is trespassing. He broke into this cabin, and I demand you remove him immediately." Ranger Dawson held up a hand, steady and measured. "Ma'am, let's take a breath. Why don't you explain what's going on?" Karen wasted no time. She painted a story about how she had been coming here every summer, how she had seen suspicious activity around the cabin, and how she feared for her safety. She even pointed at my tool shed and firewood pile, claiming I was stealing resources. When she finally stopped to catch her breath, the ranger turned his eyes toward me. "Sir, what's your side of the story?" I stood tall, trying to keep my voice calm. "This is my land. My grandfather bought it in the 70s, and I inherited it when he passed. I've spent years restoring this cabin. I have the deed in my truck if you'd like to see it." Karen rolled her eyes so hard I thought they might get stuck. "He's lying. I've been visiting this area forever. Everyone knows this cabin belongs to the Johnsons. Ask anyone in town." The ranger didn't flinch. He looked me square in the eye. "Do you have proof of ownership?" "Yes, sir," I said. "Right in the glove box." I walked to my truck, pulled out the worn leather folder my grandfather had kept, and handed it over. The ranger examined the deed, flipping through the pages carefully. Karen folded her arms, tapping her foot impatiently. "You're not really buying this nonsense, are you? Look at him. He's clearly just some squatter who figured he could take advantage of an empty place. Ranger Dawson raised his hand again, silencing her. Then he spoke slowly, with a weight that made Karen stop mid-sentence. Ma'am, according to this official deed, this property belongs to him. Legally and rightfully. He owns the land. The silence that followed was golden. Karen's face twisted in disbelief, her mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. But something told me she wasn't finished yet. For a moment, I thought Ranger Dawson's words would put an end to the madness. Most reasonable people would have apologized, maybe even slunk away in embarrassment. But Karen wasn't most people. She let out a loud, sarcastic laugh. Ha! Nice little forgery you've got there. I'm not stupid. You think flashing some old paper at the ranger is going to fool me? Please, this is fraud, and I won't stand for it. Her dogs yapped furiously at her feet as if backing up her claim. She pulled out her phone again and jabbed at the screen. If the ranger won't do his job, then I'll call the county sheriff. We'll see how long you last in that cabin when the real authorities show up. Ranger Dawson remained unshaken. Ma'am, I already told you. The paperwork is legitimate. The deed is filed with the county and this land is his. If you make a false police report, you'll be the one in legal trouble. That only seemed to fan the flames. Karen marched right up to my porch, ignoring Dawson's warning. She jabbed her finger toward the cabin door. I know my rights. I've been coming here every summer, walking these trails, fishing that creek. That gives me more claim to this property than some random man who pops up out of nowhere. I couldn't help myself. I laughed. So, using a trail a few times a year gives you ownership of my family's land? That's not how property works, Karen. Her face turned beet red. Don't you dare call me Karen. My name is Miss Harrington. Ranger Dawson stepped forward, placing himself between us. His voice grew firmer. Ma'am, I'm warning you. Trespassing on private property, harassing the rightful owner, and refusing to leave when asked could land you in serious legal trouble. I need you to step back and calm down. But instead of calming down, she escalated further. Karen stomped to the edge of my yard, raised her phone high in the air, and began recording. See this? This squatter is threatening me on camera. I'll have proof when the sheriff arrives. You'll be in handcuffs within the hour. I shook my head in disbelief. It didn't matter what proof I had. People like her didn't want facts. They wanted control. Ranger Dawson sighed deeply. I could see he'd dealt with this type before. He pulled out his own radio, muttering into it. This is Ranger Dawson requesting backup at Pine. Hollow cabin. We've got a potential disturbance escalating. Karen's face lit up like she'd won the lottery. Yes, finally. Now we'll get some real justice. But she didn't realize the backup he'd called wasn't coming for me. It was for her. The sound of another vehicle crunching along the gravel road broke the tension like thunder. A white county sheriff's SUV rolled into the clearing, its lights flashing just enough to make Karen puff up with self-righteous pride. She turned to me with a smirk. You're finished now, she said smugly. Wait until the sheriff hears what you've done. The door opened, and out stepped Sheriff Miller, a broad-shouldered man in his 50s with a calm, commanding presence. His reputation in Pine Hollow was legendary. He had grown up in these woods, knew nearly every landowner, and carried a no-nonsense approach to conflicts. Karen wasted no time rushing over to him. Oh, thank goodness you're here, Sheriff. This man broke into this cabin. He's dangerous. He threatened me. And he's pretending to own this land. Arrest him immediately! Sheriff Miller raised a hand for silence, his eyes narrowing just slightly. Then he turned toward Ranger Dawson. What's the situation, Rick? Ranger Dawson calmly explained everything. The deed, the property records, my grandfather's name, and my right as the legal owner. He ended with a firm nod. This man is telling the truth. Karen here is trespassing and refusing to leave. Karen let out an indignant gasp. Lies! You're all conspiring against me. This man is a fraud, I tell you. Ask anyone in town. The sheriff finally looked at me. You got proof of ownership? Yes, sir, I said, handing him the folder. He took his time looking it over, then closed it with a decisive snap. His next words hit like a hammer. This property belongs to him. Legally, rightfully, and without question. Karen's jaw dropped. What? That can't be right. I've been walking these trails for years. I practically live here in the summers. Sheriff Miller fixed her with a steely glare. And walking a trail doesn't give you ownership. You've been trespassing, harassing, and wasting official time. If you keep this up, I'll have no choice but to charge you. Her dogs yipped nervously, sensing the shift in energy. Karen sputtered, her voice cracking. But, this isn't fair. Fair, the sheriff said firmly, is respecting other people's property. Now, you've got two choices. Leave peacefully, or leave in the back of my car. The clearing fell silent except for the wind rustling the trees. Finally, with a dramatic huff, Karen spun on her heel. Fine, but this isn't over, she shrieked as she stomped back down the trail, her dogs scrambling after her. Sheriff Miller shook his head with a tired smile. Some people just don't learn. He handed me back the deed. Don't worry. If she tries this again, we'll handle it. Relief washed over me. The cabin, my sanctuary, was safe. As the ranger and sheriff drove off, I sat back on the porch, listening to the creek. The peace of Pine Hollow returned, stronger than before, and I couldn't help but smile, because this time, the forest itself seemed to whisper, "Welcome home." Enjoying this wild Karen drama in the woods? Hit that subscribe button for more unbelievable real-life story times. If you're hooked on the twists, give this video a like and drop a comment below. What would you have done if Karen tried to kick you out of your own cabin?